Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, an exclusive interview with Michelle White, Chief of Staff to Governor Sisolak, and Scott Gilles, Senior Advisor to Governor Sisolak. They're here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
When in Carson City, Nevada Newsmakers records in the conference room at the Bank Saloon. Coverage of the 2021 Nevada legislative session is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. Ahern Rentals is ready for your next project. Liberty Dental Plan, making members shine one smile at a time. And Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the Bank Saloon in Carson City. We are delighted to welcome to the program for the first time Michelle White. She is Chief of Staff to Governor Sisolak, and Scott Gilles, who is Senior Policy Advisor to Governor Sisolak. Welcome to you both, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. We're really excited to be here.
You are very welcome. I want to jump into this right away because otherwise it'll be the elephant in the room, but I want to talk to you first of all about Blockchains LLC's Smart City. A great idea for a business on every level, self-funded, 67,000 acres of owned land in Story County. All good, except the owner, Jeff Burns, wants to form his own county government separate from Story County. So my question is, if Story County is good enough to have developed the largest building in the world, which will eventually build out at 16 million square feet of the highest technological level for the Tesla Panasonic Gigafactory, why can't Jeff Burns build a smart city under the auspices of Story County?
Well, again, thanks for having us here today, Sam. We really appreciate it. And I'll certainly turn it over to Scott in a moment. But, you know, when the governor was looking at the economic action plan and some interesting ideas coming out of the pandemic, this is one that certainly was innovative, hence the name and the term, that, you know, stood back and said, let's take a shot and do something different here. We were a state drastically impacted economically by the pandemic, and it's time to start asking, you know, instead of asking what can go wrong, asking what can go right, and trying something different. Nevada is a place where big, bold ideas can flourish, and thought that it was certainly worth exploring and you know, diving into from a policy perspective.
Yeah, and I think to answer your question, Sam, about, you know, the comparison to Tesla, I think it's much different than Tesla. Tesla is obviously a very state-of-the-art, huge building in the Tri-Center, but Innovation Zones would be something different. It would be a community built on the basis of an innovative technology, blockchains technology. It would be something similar to a general improvement district that you see in other places, but you know, much bigger and much more authority than that. You know, a community where there is this phased-in approach based on the investments made by the underlying applicant, where there's a board of supervisors who ultimately is going to make decisions for this governance model. And you know, as they grow and housing develops and schools develops, and you know, residents develop, there would be elections that they would be responsible for. So it's a much different holistic concept than just, you know, Tesla as a single building, which is great and has been good for Nevada.
I just want to reiterate, 16 million square feet. It's the largest building in the world,
right,
and could not be more technologically advanced if you tried.
Absolutely, and I think the concept with the innovation zones is really to create and have that you know, that blank slate to create an actual smart city versus, you know, a smart building, you know, a technologically advanced building. So.
Okay, and we can get back to that, but I guess one of the questions that's arisen is that a lot of other counties are very concerned about this, because they look at this and they say, well, if this could happen to Story County, this could happen to Elko County, this could happen to Eureka County, this could happen even in Clark County. And I don't think any of those county commissions would be very happy to lose a chunk of their land toward an innovation zone.
Well, you know, I mean, the honest truth is we don't have the draft of the bill back yet. We hope to get it soon and have a lot of conversations about that language, and certainly make sure that we're engaging stakeholders, including from local government. That's where the governor comes from. And I think he is, you know, particularly interested in making sure that all those voices are going to be at the table. And this is a big concept, and it's normal for folks to feel nervous about it. It's certainly normal for folks to have questions about it, and those questions deserve to be answered and walked through and debated and discussed through the legislative process. So again, we don't have the language back yet, but we look forward to getting it and having that discussion and having all those folks at the table. So
absolutely, it's a big concept. Mr. Burns has made a lot of money suing banks, and, you know, for bad loan or bad faith loans, I guess that would be the appropriate way to put it, and has a lot of experience in that, but has pretty much zero experience in running a government, running courts, running sewer, running power, all the different things that a government has to run that Story County is already completely capable of doing. So I think that is a concern right there. And one of the comparisons early on was, you know, Disney World in Florida had gotten their own county carved out of two different counties, but they had built Disneyland. They had the experience of a huge project and saw the good things and the bad things that occurred in Anaheim, and took that concept to Florida and made it work. Mr. Burns has built his corporate headquarters in TRI. It's a nice building, but it's nothing spectacular. There's not one building that he's built that is a smart city concept that anybody could walk in and see. A lot of developers are looking at this and going, this doesn't make sense that it would be the keystone of the governor's economic diversification plan.
Well, I think it's a piece of it. I don't think it's the only piece of it. And there's a large economic action plan. It's going to take a lot more than an innovation zone policy to recover Nevada's economy, diversify it, bring it forward. As we all know, Southern Nevada in particular is the hardest hit. It still has one of the highest unemployment rates in the country. This innovation zone is proposed to be in Northern Nevada. So there's so many different proposals that we're looking at in Southern Nevada as well, in addition to the rural counties, to make sure that that economic prosperity and opportunities, and particularly diversification, is going to be felt everywhere. So while it is a piece and something, again, all those points you bring up are good points that deserve to be discussed and debated, and get those answers to those questions. But it's not the only piece of the governor's economic action plan, and I think that's what we're really excited about working on as well.
But he did bring it up in the State of the State, so
yeah.
He put a big spotlight on this thing. Let's talk about, and I'm going to direct this to Scott, just so I'm you know, splitting this up here. So, you know, in Northern Nevada, because of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center and the Tesla Gigafactory, you now have 25,000 people working out at TRI. At this point, the economists are telling us, and the demographer, that we need 50,000 new homes over the next 10 years in Northern Nevada, and we are way behind. My house personally has gone up literally $100,000 in the last month, which is insane. It is not worth that. If someone were to pay it, they would be crazy. But the last thing that we need, I believe, at this point in time is hundreds of thousands of new people moving into Northern Nevada, when you already have an economy that's totally on fire, and what you really need is infrastructure, I-80 to be expanded, lots of other things that need to be done to accommodate this. So it would seem that Southern Nevada would be the place where you'd really want to direct something like an innovation zone, because the tourism industry is so huge that diversification is needed, but even then, if there's an economic collapse again because tourism goes down, you're still going to have a big drop, but diversification would help stabilize the tax base, would it not?
Absolutely, and if we got to from the governor's office pick and choose where every economic development project landed, we might make different decisions with respect to that. But the reality is, this particular economic development project that we are creating legislation that would allow for blockchains in Story County to take that next step to the innovation zone concept. Blockchains exist in Story County, so. Yes, we understand there's economic diversification across the state that's needed. However, I think from our perspective, the goals ultimately of innovation zones and that project ultimately becoming successful is about jobs and tax revenue that benefits all of the state, particularly coming off what is one of the worst economic recessions Nevada has ever seen. We saw very clearly the impact a pandemic, a recession has on gaming and the resort properties and the tourism industry. And it crippled the state. The evidence was pretty clear through our special sessions last summer. Fiscal year 20 wiped out the rainy day fund. Fiscal year 21, $1.2 billion cut. That was all mostly directly related to the impact on the tourism industry in the state of Nevada. So that's why we're pursuing this, and that's why we think diversification makes sense, and ultimately why we were willing to have this debate and have this discussion on innovation zones.
Story County is against it. Elko County has joined them in that. There's a lot of rumblings from the mining industry that they're concerned about this because they also own large tracts of lands. How does this play into? Mr. Burns has basically said that this is either going to be a great success or a massive failure. And he's also said if he doesn't get the innovation zones, then he's going to sell the land and move on. For anybody, and I'm a businessman as well, if you're going to be in business, you have to be into it 150%. You have to be prepared to mortgage your house to be a business person. Doesn't it concern you that he has made these kind of statements when the governor and the governor's office is putting so much stock into this?
Well, it's a policy that would allow something like this to happen. It's never about just a single person or a single company. This is about a policy that would allow for this to be pursued in the state of Nevada. And again, I think, bringing all those stakeholders to the table is going to be important. We don't have the bill language yet. I'll just bring that up one more time. That's the starting point to really have these conversations and have a hearing and have a robust debate. It's something that we're concerned with, and we hope we get that soon so that can really kick off.
Would Mr. Burns continue on, do you believe, or is he really going to sell the land if he doesn't get the control of the local government?
I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We have much more after this time out.
Located in the heart of Carson City, the Bank Saloon, a historic watering hole with a modern feel. With a variety of classic cocktails, featuring Nevada spirits, space for private events, conferences, and an incredible atmosphere. The Bank Saloon offers a great location to work and play. Come visit us. Located at the corner of 5th and Carson. We'll save you a drink.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com. Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerhour, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Michelle White. She is Chief of Staff to Governor Sisolak, and Scott Gilles, he's Senior Policy Advisor to Governor Sisolak. We're talking about Blockchains LLC and their concept of a smart city. Let's talk about the water issue, because Jeff Burns has purchased water in Gerlach that he would like to be able to ship to Story County. Pete Goicoechea, the state senator, said on the program that he would only be able to get a portion of that water that he's purchased to be able to move it. And it's 100 miles from Gerlach to Story County, and it goes over tribal land. Senator Reed, as you know, I'm sure, took 30 years to get the Truckee River operating agreement put together. At minimum, this would take 10, perhaps 20 years to get through. So does he really have the water to be able to say that he has the water to be able to make this thing function?
I'm happy to answer that. I think right now we don't know explicitly if the water's there. We know they're working on it. One of the things we're building into the legislation, should it pass, is ultimately that as a development that would want to create an innovation zone moves forward and submits their application to GOED, which also requires a commitment to very serious dollars of investment. But they're going to have to prove in that application that they have water to do the development that they're proposing to do. So,
water on site, or just water potentially to be delivered?
The water rights that would be needed for a development of that size.
Because you look at Southern Nevada Water Authority, and they're backing off the pipeline. They haven't gotten rid of the farms yet, or the ranches where they have the water, but they have said that they are not going to move forward at this time with building that pipeline. So I mean, even they are looking at this interbasin water transfer business and thinking this is not a good time to try and do that.
Yeah, and I think the point I would want to stress is they'll have to come forward and prove to the state via GOED that they, like any other developer, that they've procured the water necessary for the development they're attempting to build. Okay,
so now here's another question. I've talked to a lot of people about this, both on the show and off the show. And one of the things is, what happens if this thing goes wrong? If Jeff Burns is able, through blockchains, to get control of this 67,000 acres, form his own government, form his own city, put together everything that needs to go along with that, and suddenly something goes wrong. Who picks up the pieces? Is it Story County? Is it the state? The governor has said that there is no cost to the taxpayers, but there's tax revenue, future tax revenue from that 67,000 acres that Story County would not get. But also, who picks up the pieces if it fails? Have you guys thought it through that far?
Well, it's a great question, and it's obviously one of the things that's going to be worked through in the legislation, which again, we still have not had the opportunity to have committee hearings on the legislation and actually see the final draft of the bill. But ultimately, there's the way it's set up is there will a governance model will be created, a board of supervisors, similar to something like a general improvement district, just with much more authority. So to the extent that along the line, after the commitments and dollars are invested in the project, one individual pulls out for whatever reason, I'm not saying that will happen, but if that happens, you have a governance model that's collecting tax revenue based on residents and businesses that are there already. So like any other governance model, there's going to be protections there, and you can't just be unwound by one person.
Right, but for example, White Pine County was brought under state control at one point in time. There are other counties in Nevada that have been on the borderline. So I mean, there is potential that the state would have to jump in at some point and take over.
Sure, and there's precedent, as you mentioned, for there to be triggers in place for those protections. And I think that's certainly something that we would want to make sure is incorporated in any language.
But that would potentially be a cost to the state then?
There could be a whole number of scenarios that could take place, similar to any other county, as you mentioned, or any other economic development project. And I think the best you do from a policy perspective is, again, make sure that there are protections that can, trigger and go into place should any of those scenarios play out.
Okay, let me not change topics, but change the story idea here. There was a series of stories that ran recently in the last couple of weeks in the Reno Gazette-Journal that people can Google. I don't want to get into the whole details of it, but one of those stories from Anjanette Damon claimed sexual harassment of a female tutor in Incline Village by Mr. and Mrs. Burns. Did that not set off alarm bells in the governor's office? Was there no vetting on this? Because apparently this story has been out there for quite a while.
I could tell you it was nothing that we were aware of. The governor and our entire office takes any allegations very seriously. The policy, when we think of innovation zones in this legislation, is separate than any one individual or business. And so the policy is worthy of that debate and discussion. But as I mentioned, the governor, myself, this office takes any of those allegations very seriously, wants to see that process played out through the legal proceedings or how it is deemed fit. And it's certainly concerning.
All right, let's take another break. We'll come back with more after this timeout.
Tamarack Casino is giving away 2 Mercedes-Benz during the $125,000 Benz or cash giveaways. Plus, players get 5 times points on video reels every Friday. Win 2 Mercedes-Benz now through May at Tamarack Casino.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Come visit Design Outdoor's store and backyard to see our wide selection of fire pits, barbecues, and pizza ovens, natural stone water features and fountains, and frost-proof pottery. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
One of the most psychologically damaging things parents can do to children in divorce is disparage one another, which is why I can't believe I even have to make this commercial. Half of your kids' genetics come from this person you're spewing hate about. Your children have the right to love you both, but more than that, they deserve to love themselves.
Marilyn York might be a men's rights divorce attorney, but this is for every selfish parent. Shut up!
Tamarack Casino is giving away 2 Mercedes-Benz during the $125,000 Benz or cash giveaways. Plus, players get 5 times points on video reels every Friday. Win 2 Mercedes-Benz now through May at Tamarack Casino.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Michelle White. She is Chief of Staff to Governor Sisolak, and Scott Gilles is a Senior Advisor to Governor Sisolak. I got that right this time, huh? Okay.
Close. Close.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you, how does the governor feel about Senator Kieckhefer's esports bill that would create a 3-member Nevada Esports Commission with duties similar to those of the Nevada Athletic Commission? He was on the program a week or so ago and was talking about how an esports event could fill Allegiant Stadium and every other convention center around the stadium. It would be like, the NFR rodeo. How does the governor feel about this?
Yeah. It's not something I'm super familiar with as far as esports. I know about the concept, but I think the governor thinks it's an interesting, exciting idea. That he certainly asked us to make sure that we're following and monitoring as it goes through the process. We've talked to Senator Kieckhefer about it. Again, as we mentioned before, we have to think outside the box. We have to look at ways to try some new things and diversify our economy. This is something that clearly has so much interest, as Senator Kieckhefer mentioned, and if it's something that could potentially work for Nevada, it's definitely worth exploring and making sure that we're having those conversations.
Yeah, I've had a number of conversations with Senator Kieckhefer about the bill. I've appreciated his approach, which is, not necessarily he doesn't have a singular goal with what the bill should do and what the bill should accomplish. He's told me that he's really looking to the industry to say what is best to kickstart this industry in a big way in Las Vegas. I think there's some potential there. Ultimately, we'll have to see where the bill lands and what it looks like when it makes it to the governor's desk. But I'm not sure if they testified in support, but I know in conversations I've had, the Nevada Resorts Association, Las Vegas Convention Authority, they are interested in this as a means to an end to bring in a big new industry that will attract an entirely different demographic than they have right now in the casinos. So. And other trade shows. So we're very interested in seeing where that bill lands.
What's funny about this is, about 15 years ago, I started reading about this in South Korea, and literally millions of people are watching this online, and it just seems that we've had video games since the early 1970s, and that's 50 years ago. So maybe it's time for us to catch up on that.
Yeah.
Marijuana lounges. If this makes it all the way to the governor's desk, will he sign it?
Well, that is a great question. Again, like any other bill, and certainly this one, there's a lot of questions outstanding, and we're talking to the sponsor of that bill as well, and making sure that we're following along with any changes that occur throughout the process. It's something that the governor has asked us to specifically monitor and make sure that we are having those conversations. He's familiar with this industry. He was in Clark County when it did get formalized, and it's something that we're always looking to see how we can expand in the state. But there's still some outstanding questions, just like there are with most bills at this point in the session. So we're just going to continue working with the sponsor.
Is gaming in favor of this occurring? Because I've joked on the show that the world's best marijuana lounges will be in casinos as soon as it's approved on a federal level. But are they willing to allow this to occur when, with strip clubs years ago, they were losing $30 million a year to those men's clubs? Right. And I'm not sure they want to see people going out of the casinos to go to a marijuana lounge.
That's a question I think you'd have to ask the NRA or one of the gaming properties, not something that we could necessarily answer.
Okay. We have already talked before the program that we would love to have you come back, and we have so many more topics we'd love to discuss with you, but we are very grateful for you being here today and look forward to more conversations.
Well, thanks for having us, Sam. We really appreciate it. We'll definitely be back.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Thank you. This was fun. I appreciate you having us.
Thank you, and let Governor Sisolak know we have a chair warm for him whenever he's ready.
You got it.
And we'll be right back. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's Development Company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's Development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers on television, radio, audio and video, podcasts, and YouTube. We'll see you on the next broadcast coming to you from Carson City. See you then.